Access your free language gifts right now, before they expire. Here's what you're getting this month. First, the 24-hour Survival Phrases PDF cheat sheet. Traveling and want to learn a bit of the language? Then these survival phrases will help you survive the first 24 hours. Second, the Ultimate Listening Video Master Course. Honest question: how good are your listening skills? Well, if you can watch this free master course, then you'll easily understand native speakers. So download it right now. Third, the 50 most common verbs all beginners must know. Do you know all of these verbs? If not, this lesson will drill the 50 most common verbs into your head. Just use the free audio slideshow tool inside. Fourth, 20 strategies for learning language at home. Want to learn a language from the comfort of your home? This 1-minute lesson will give you all the best tactics for learning languages. Fifth, free language learning audiobooks for anyone that sees this video. You'll get free access to our huge library of language learning audiobooks. Save them to your device and listen and learn. They're yours to keep forever. And finally, the deal of the month. If you want to finally master language with lessons by real teachers and our complete language learning program, get 35% off Premium or Premium Plus with the Power Up sale. To get your gifts and language learning resources, click the link in the lesson description below. Download them right now before they expire. First question this week comes from Rizal Kuswandi. Hi again, Rizal. Rizal says, hi Alicia, what's the difference between think and thought, and when do we use them? Thanks. Okay, so I'm going to focus on the verb uses of these words. So the simple answer is that think is present tense and thought is past tense. We use think when we're talking about our opinions or ideas for things that are always true. So, for example, I think summer is the best season, or I think tea is delicious. We use thought to talk about our past ideas and opinions, yes, but we use thought to talk about actions or activities that have been completed, and we want to refer to our opinions of those things. So, for example, I thought the movie was great. I thought dinner was expensive. So sometimes we want to talk about like a past situation, so something that happened before, and we want to share our opinion of it, but we don't use present tense think. We use thought to refer to that. So I thought dinner was expensive last night, or I thought the movie was great. So the activity has ended, but we want to share our opinion of that. So when we're talking about our regular opinions and ideas, like things we think are delicious, always, or things we enjoy or things we hate, always, we use present tense think to do that. We would not use think for a completed action. Like, I think the movie was great last night. We would not use that. We use past tense to do that. So I hope that this helps you understand the difference between think and thought. Thanks very much for the question. Okay, let's move on to your next question. Next question comes from Maria. Hi, Maria. Maria says, hi, could you tell me which one is correct? Have a shower or take a shower? Thank you. Yeah, both are correct. The difference here is really just that have a shower is perhaps more commonly used in British English. We tend to use take a shower in American English. Some other expressions you might hear related to bathing in English are hop in the shower, which implies a very short shower, or hop in the bath, hop in the tub as well, where tub refers to a bathtub. Or have a rinse, maybe. You might also hear take a rinse, which sounds like you're just rinsing your body off. Maybe after a jog, for example, rinsing sweat off of the body. Or maybe rinsing some dirt off the body after doing some gardening or something. So we have a few different shower and bathing related expressions, but the most common one in American English is take a shower. Have a shower is okay to use too. It's just more commonly used in British English. So I hope that this helps you. Thanks very much for the question. Okay, let's move on to your next question. Next question comes from Farijiham Noor. Hello, Farijiham. Farijiham says, hi Alicia, what is the difference between had, have, can, and could? This is a really big question. Let's start by looking at have and had. Their uses and the meanings, it really depends on the situation. So first, we can use have in present tense to refer to owning something. Had is the past tense form of that verb. We can also use have and had to make perfect tense sentences, perfect tense statements and questions. So have is used for present perfect tense, had is used for past perfect tense. We also use this in responsibility expressions like have to and had to in present tense and in past tense respectively. So let's look at a list of example sentences that show us how each one of these is used. I have a cookie. I had a cookie at lunch. I have had a cookie today. I had had 4 cookies by the time I left the office yesterday. I have to eat all these cookies. I had to eat so many cookies yesterday. So these example sentences show us the variety of ways that we can use have and had, sometimes together, to make a lot of different statements. Moving on to the second part of your question about can and could. These two words also have quite a lot of different uses. We can use can in present tense to talk about our abilities and to make like requests and offers. We can use could to talk about our past abilities and to make polite present tense requests and offers. We also use could to talk about unreal situations, and this includes impossible situations in the past. I can speak Spanish. I could speak Spanish when I was a kid. Can you help me with my homework? Could you please help me with my homework? If I had a lot of money, I could buy a house. Was that Davy? No, that couldn't have been Davy. Davy's at the office. So can and could is also a very big topic. I hope that this very quick introduction at least shows you some examples of how we use these different words. Thanks very much for your question. Okay, let's move on to your next question. Next question comes from Wai Hin. Hello, Wai Hin. Wai Hin says, what is the difference between do you and are you? Do you begins questions that are asking for help, that are asking for information, or maybe making requests and offers. We follow do you with the present tense form of the verb, just the simple infinitive form of the verb. Some examples. Do you know where my keys are? Do you have a pen? Do you want to get a coffee? Do you go to the gym every week? Are you begins a question asking about someone's condition. We follow are you with a verb in the progressive tense, with a noun phrase, or with an adjective. Some examples. Are you a doctor? Are you okay? Are you coming to the office today? Are you at home? So this is kind of a good guideline that you can use when you're trying to decide between do you and are you questions. What kind of information do you want to know? If it's a condition question, you can probably use are you. If you're looking for information or trying to make a request, you might use do you instead. I hope that this helps you. Thanks very much for the question. Okay, let's move on to your next question. Next question comes from Sridhar Reddy. Hi again, Sridhar. Sridhar says, hi Alicia, what's the difference between it's okay and that's okay? Not much really. In most cases, we use them interchangeably, but there are a couple cases where we do use just one. So, for example, when you're making a sentence that uses an if pattern, you always want to use it's okay, not that's okay. For example, it's okay if you can't finish this today. Or, it's okay if you're running late. So we would not use that's okay in that situation. That's okay if you're running late, or that's okay if you can't finish it today. We would use it's okay if you're making an if sentence, an if clause sentence. So in many cases, especially in my case, I tend to use that's okay when someone apologizes to me for some kind of small mistake. So if someone bumps my shoulder, or if somebody forgets something, I don't know, I could say that's okay to mean no problem. You could use it's okay in this case too, but I feel like that's okay might be a little bit more common. Also, when you are in close proximity, so that means when you have a very close relationship, either physically or emotionally, to another person, and you're talking about an issue, and you want to present a situation, and you want to make the other person feel at ease, like everything's fine, you can use "it's okay." So, for example, person A might say, "Oh no, I deleted an important file from my computer." B says, "It's okay. I made a backup yesterday." So in that situation, "it's okay" precedes or comes before the solution to the situation. In those cases, using "it's okay" might sound a little bit more natural than "that's okay." But as I said, in most cases we use them interchangeably and it doesn't really cause a communication problem. But I hope that those are a few situations that you can use in daily life and that you can use these two expressions a little bit more naturally. So thanks very much for the question. I hope that that helps. First question this week comes from Duongdu Tue Tam. I hope I said that right. Duongdu says, "Hi Alicia, how do I practice listening to English better?" I would say make sure you're doing active listening, not passive listening. So passive listening is like just turning your phone on or turning your computer on to something English, like an English movie or an English video on YouTube or English audio, and you leave it and you go do something else, like cleaning or cooking or doing your homework or whatever. So you're not paying attention to the audio, you're not paying attention to the video at all. So you're just listening to the background noise there. Active listening, on the other hand, is really focusing in on the things that you're hearing. So to practice good active listening, of course, you can just listen to audio, but I would recommend trying to read along with the things the speakers are saying. So I think really fun ways to do this are to use movies and videos. So movies, turn on the subtitles in English to do this, and turn on like YouTube captions as well. You can do that with some of the videos on our channel. And I think that there are some auto-generated captions that you can use on our YouTube channel as well. So I would recommend reading along as you listen. So this helps you because it can help you identify the pronunciations of unfamiliar words. So words that you don't know, you can learn how to pronounce them. You can also hear the different ways that native speakers connect words in everyday speech. You can learn how words are stressed in everyday speech, and you can just pick up new vocabulary words and work on some grammar patterns too. So I would recommend you practice active listening, not just passive listening. Passive listening is fun and easy, but try to do active listening as well so that you're really focusing on gaining new things. I hope that this helps you, and good luck with your continued listening studies. Okay, let's move on to your next question. Next question comes from Behatvin. Hello, Behatvin. Behatvin says, "What is the difference between England, British, and United Kingdom?" Okay, England is a country, one country. It is a noun. For example, I went to England last year. Have you ever been to England? British is an adjective. Something that is British is something or someone that comes from Great Britain. So Great Britain is the largest of the islands in the British Isles. Examples: my roommate is British. Do you speak British or American English? I speak American English. The United Kingdom, or the UK, is an area that's made up of most of the islands in the British Isles, including Great Britain, and it's made up of a small part of the northeastern part of Ireland, as well as a few other small islands in the area. This is referred to as the United Kingdom or the UK. Examples: have you ever been to the UK? I hear it's rainy in the United Kingdom. Okay, so I hope that this helps you understand the differences between these words. Thanks very much for the question. All right, moving along to your next question this week. Next question comes from Alex. Hi, Alex. Alex says, "Hi, what's the difference between bush and forest? Thanks." Okay, in American English, bush and forest are quite different. However, in Australian English, the word bush could be used to mean something kind of similar to forest. So first, let's look at how bush is used in American English. In American English, bush is used to refer to like a shrub. It's one single plant that is low to the ground. People usually have them in front of their houses, or in a forest among the trees, you might see bushes like below trees. So they're usually not very big, maybe this size or so. I don't know. It depends on the type of plant. But a bush is a single unit. It's a single plant. Examples. My grandparents have lots of bushes in their yard. There's a row of bushes leading up to the castle. So some of you may know that this word does have another slang meaning, but it is totally unrelated to plant life. So you can Google that if you like. So bush can also refer to like an area of wild lands, like untamed creatures and just free-growing plants. But that's something that we only use in Australian English. American English speakers, and to my knowledge, British English speakers do not use this word. Forest, on the other hand, refers to a huge, huge, huge area of trees and creatures and all kinds of wildlife. So for example, the Amazon rainforest is a huge forest. So it's not just one unit, not just one tree or one group of animals, but it's the whole area, all the plants, all the wildlife, everything in that area. That's a forest area. So I hope that this helps you understand the differences between these words. Thanks for an interesting question. Okay, let's move on to your next question. Next question comes from Svatoslav. Hi, Svatoslav. I hope I said that correctly. Svatoslav says, hi, Alicia. Could you explain the difference between other and another? Okay, I talked about this in a previous episode of Ask Alicia, so if you want some more example sentences and a little bit of a different explanation, you can check out that video. So we use other when we're referring to the known alternative in a situation. So if, for example, our camera person offers me these two markers, and he offers me the red one, but I can see the blue one, I can say, no, I want the other one. I want this one. I want the other marker. So I use the other because I see that there are two choices in the situation. I am offered one, but I say, no, I want the other one in the situation. We use another when we want to refer to something outside the known situation. So here, if I'm offered a red marker and a blue marker, and I don't want either, I can say, do you have another color? And maybe I'll get the black marker. So it's outside of my existing options. It's outside of the known situation, another one. So for another example of how we use another and the other, you can check out the previous episode of Ask Alicia that I talked about. I hope that that gives you another example and another explanation that can help you understand the differences between these words. So I hope that that helps you. Thanks very much for this question. Okay, let's move on to your next question. Next question comes from Emma. Hi, Emma. Emma says, hi, Alicia. I'm wondering what I should say when people ask me what my job is, and I'm just a housewife and raising kids. Is it okay to say, I have no job, I'm just a housewife? Well, yes, but I definitely wouldn't say just or I have no job, because I think many people now today recognize that being a housewife is like a kind of job. So you could say, yes, I'm just a housewife, but because there's a lot of work related to taking care of a house and taking care of children, I would say don't use just say I'm a housewife and explain I take care of my home and my children. So I hope that this helps you. Yes, using housewife is a great way to describe what you do. Thanks very much for your question. First question this week comes from Sergey. Hi, Sergey. Sergey says, what methods would you recommend to remember English words as fast as possible and for a long time? Thanks. Aha, common question. I would suggest that you begin using the words right away. So I imagine many learners have a vocabulary list. Maybe it's a digital list or a list you write by hand, whatever. When you learn a new word, begin using the word right away. So I don't mean like reading the word or learning the spelling of the word. That's great. But start making sentences with the words. So write a sentence and then say the sentence out loud. So use the word right away. And then maybe at the end of the same day, read the sentence again, write the sentence again, say the sentence again. So use the word again. The next day, do it again. Maybe make a new sentence using the same word. So try to say that sentence again. Try to say the previous day's sentence again. So use the word. Don't just put the word into your head. Actually create something with the word. This is huge. Very important is to actually like to create something with the new words that you're learning. So you do this, every day, and then a few days later you refresh the word. A week later you refresh the word. So in the beginning it takes time. You maybe need to refresh your mind, refresh your memory a lot as you learn new vocabulary words. But then you also need to get used to using those words in your everyday life. So try to maybe make a list or like a group of words you want to focus on for like 1 week or 2 weeks at a time. And so you practice that group of words like every day, or you make a study plan to focus on this group of words for this month or something like that. So do that with those words that you really, really want to use. Maybe they're words that are extremely important to your everyday life, like your studies or your work, or maybe a hobby, for example. So I would suggest doing that and spacing out your repetition to do that. So if you want a tool that can help you to do this kind of thing, there are spaced repetition systems, like spaced repetition flashcard tools. A very popular one is a tool called Anki. So you can download like vocabulary word decks, groups of vocabulary words, and study those, and the software or the system will automatically tell you when is the next time to study. So you finish your study session, and then later, a few hours later or a day later or something, you can study the same words again, and it will remember how well you did the previous time. So it spaces out how often you see your vocabulary words and helps you refresh things at a good pace for your studies and for your memory. So that might be a good tool to use. But as I said, don't just read, don't just see the words on a screen. Make sure you use the words as well. So I hope that this helps you to understand new vocabulary words and to be able to remember them for a long time. Good luck with your studies. Okay, let's move on to your next question. Next question this week comes from Melly. Hello, Melly. Melly says, you say, and I answer them, maybe, at the opening of the video. This maybe means if I can, or you ask plenty of questions and I pick randomly, so maybe I can or I can't. Pick yours. Thanks. Yeah, actually, both are true. The reason that I chose that beginning, you ask questions and I answer them, maybe, I chose that introduction for both of those reasons. So one is actually I don't know for sure if I answered your question. So sometimes viewers send a question and maybe I don't completely understand what they want to know, or maybe my answer doesn't give them 100% of the information. So I hope I try my best to answer the questions completely, but I don't know for sure that I've answered the viewer's question. I don't know for sure that I've answered your question. So that's one reason why I say maybe at the beginning of the video. The second reason, as you said, is because there are lots of questions that get sent to us for this series. So sometimes the questions are like very common questions. So we get, for example, lots of questions about how to use present perfect tense, or we get lots of questions about how to use have and had, or would, could, and should, those words. So because there are so many questions like that, I might not choose your question about that topic. I try to choose questions that I hope can be like new and interesting and helpful for lots of people who are watching the channel, not just for that one person. So that's one reason. Also, there are some questions that are very, very specific. Some people send questions that are maybe about one specific sentence. And so for other people, maybe it's not so helpful. So I'm trying to choose questions that are good for everybody. So that's the second reason why I say maybe. I might not choose the question that you send, even if you do send it. Thank you so much for sending. But yes, there are those two reasons why I say maybe at the beginning to every video in this series. So I hope that that helps you. Thanks for this question. Okay, let's move on to your next question this week. Next question for this week comes from Kome. Hello, Kome. Kome says, what is the difference between ongoing and in progress? Great question. Ongoing is an adjective. We can place ongoing before the noun that it modifies. We can also place ongoing after the noun that it modifies, but we connect the two with is. Some examples. This is an ongoing project. This project is ongoing. In progress, on the other hand, is not an adjective. It's in, a preposition, and progress, a noun. So progress means like movement forward or some kind of improvement. That's what progress means. So we can imagine in progress to mean like in the condition of making progress. So that's kind of like a long way to say this small phrase, in progress, in the condition or in the state of making forward progress. So we tend to use this after the noun that it modifies. So some examples of this. Construction is in progress on our office building. This project is a work in progress. So I hope that helps you understand the differences between ongoing and in progress. Thanks very much for this question. Okay, let's move on to your next question. Next question comes from Marcelo Veloso. Hello, Marcelo. Marcelo says, hi, Alicia. How's it going? Here in Brazil, when actors and actresses play roles in soap operas, movies, and TV shows, they don't talk like ordinary people. They talk a little formally. I would like to know if the same thing happens in the USA. Nice question. But generally, no, actors and actresses don't speak more formally. They do, however, change their speaking for the setting in which they are acting. So, for example, if you've seen a movie where the story features royalty, so like kings and queens, you might hear the actors using very formal language because that's the language that's appropriate for a very formal setting. So they use that language not because it's like a movie, but because it's like a king or a queen they're speaking to. So they should speak formally. On the other hand, if you've seen the movie like a cowboy movie, like an old Western movie, you'll hear the characters speaking in a very rough manner. So they choose the way that they speak, or the way that they speak is kind of determined by the setting of the media. So it's not that the media itself causes actors and actresses to speak a certain way. It's like the story itself. They speak to match the story. I will say that probably in most cases, actors and actresses tend to speak a little bit more clearly. Yes, they speak very quickly, but they tend to speak a little more clearly in media because it's important for the audience to be able to catch all the words that are being said. So you might hear them speaking a little bit more clearly, but no, not necessarily more formally. So level of formality is determined by the story, the characters in the story, and the relationships in the story. So I hope that that helps you. Thanks very much for the question. Okay, let's move on to your next question. Next question this week comes from Michael. Hello, Michael. Michael says, hi, Alicia. The verbs would and had have the same form of contraction, apostrophe D. How do I know what verb this form of the contraction means? Great question. Okay, to know which form, look at the word that comes after the apostrophe D. For example, I'd like a glass of water. I'd eaten by the time my roommate got home. Okay, so in the first example sentence, I'd like a glass of water, the word that comes after I'd is like. Like is a simple present tense verb. In the second example sentence, I'd eaten by the time my roommate got home, we see eaten, which is the verb eat in the past participle form. So we break these down and we see I'd like becomes I would like or I had like. So we know I had like is incorrect. That's not proper grammar. We know therefore it should be I would like. We can do the same thing with the second example sentence. I'd eaten could be either I would eaten or I had eaten. We know that I would eaten is grammatically incorrect. So we can understand therefore that when we see that apostrophe D followed by a simple present tense verb, we can understand that that's actually an I would construction. Apostrophe D followed by a verb in the past participle form, however, indicates the past perfect tense. I had eaten, I'd eaten. So you don't actually need to focus on that apostrophe D, focus on the grammar of the sentence as a whole. So we're looking at the verb that comes after this, not to the apostrophe D itself. The clue is actually in the next word. So I hope that this helps you identify the differences in the future. Thanks very much for this question.
Hi everybody, my name is Alicia. In this lesson, I'm going to talk about tag questions. I'm going to explain what tag questions are, how to make them, and a few different ways to use them. So let's get started. Okay, first, what is a tag question? A tag question is a short question that comes after a statement. So I'll explain a lot of examples today. So these are very short questions, usually just like 2 words. We use tag questions for confirmation or for agreement. So when we want to check that something is correct, for example, we use a tag question. When we want to use a tag question to confirm information, we typically use downward intonation to do this. So you'll hear a few examples of this in this lesson. However, we also use tag questions to ask for information. So we want to get some new information. We can use a tag question to do that. But typically when we want to ask for something, we'll use upward intonation, the same way that we would ask a regular information question. So let's keep this in mind as we look at some of the rules for using tag questions and making tag questions. Okay, first, to make tag questions, there are 2 basic rules I want to explain. So the first rule is if the verb in the main sentence or in the main part of the statement is a positive verb, then the verb in the tag question must be negative. So let's look at a few examples of this. Here, you cooked this, didn't you? So here, cooked is the verb in the main part of the statement, and it's positive. That means I need to use a negative verb, here, in this case, didn't, in the ending part of the statement. So I'll explain this rule in just a moment, too. Another example, he could hear me, couldn't he? So here, could is positive in the main part of the statement. Therefore, I need to use the opposite form, couldn't, the negative form, at the end of the statement in the tag question. Last example here, you've had breakfast, haven't you? So here, I'm using you have had breakfast. So here, you have is my positive verb, my positive auxiliary verb in this case. So I need to use the negative haven't in my tag question at the end of the sentence. So this is the first part. Then the opposite is also true, as we see here in point number 2. So if the verb in the main sentence or the main part of the statement is negative, then the verb in the tag question is positive. So this is the opposite of point 1 that we just talked about here. So I've just made the opposite of each of these sentences. So here we'll see, you didn't cook this, did you? Here I have the negative, you did not cook this. Therefore, the positive, did, is used in the tag question. Again, he couldn't hear me, could he? Here I've used couldn't. This time it's negative in the main part of the statement, so the tag question is positive, could he? Finally, you haven't had breakfast, have you? Here I have the negative haven't, have not. Therefore, I need to use the positive have in the tag question. So this is the basic rule for making tag questions. If we see a positive verb in the main part of the statement, the tag question should be negative. It should use a negative verb. And the opposite is also true. If a negative verb is used in the main statement, we should use a positive verb in the tag question. So this is one key theme you'll see in our example sentences for today. So let's look at a few more details about how to make these. Point number 3 here is about auxiliary verbs. So remember, auxiliary verbs are like have and has, be, for example. So if there's no auxiliary verb in the main statement, then the tag question will use the appropriate form of the word do. And by that I mean the positive or the negative form, like do or does, for example. So let's look at some examples of this. So no auxiliary verb is used here. So he made this, didn't he? Here I have the verb made, past tense. He made this, didn't he? No auxiliary verb is here. So we need to use the verb do. However, made is a positive, meaning the tag question needs to be negative. So here, didn't is past tense, did not. In other words, the contracted form, did not, is used here. Let's look at one more. Here I have the negative, she didn't go, did she? So I need to use the positive, did, in the tag question. Here again, they canceled, didn't they? So canceled is the verb, it's the positive form of the verb used here. I therefore need to use the negative in the past, didn't, in the tag question. So again, if no auxiliary verb is in the main statement, then we should use the correct form, the appropriate form of do to make the tag question at the end. However, as in point number 4, if there is an auxiliary verb, so if we do see some case of have or be used, then we need to use the same auxiliary verb in the tag question, but we still need to follow this rule, the positive and negative rule. So, for example, he hasn't finished his homework, has he? Here the auxiliary verb has is used, but I have the negative form. He hasn't finished his homework. So I need to match this with the positive, has he? He hasn't finished his homework, has he? Next one, she's left the office, hasn't she? Here the verb might be hard to find. It's this apostrophe S. She's left, meaning she has left the office, hasn't she? Here I've used the negative because the positive, she has, is used in the main statement. Finally, they were listening to our conversation, weren't they? Here I'm using were, the positive were, in the main statement, so I need to use the negative weren't in the tag question. So please be careful when you're using an auxiliary verb in your main statement, make sure to use the opposite form of the auxiliary verb in the tag question. All right, let's go on to part 5. So part 5 is a little bit special. So if am or are, if one of these words is used in the main part of your statement, then we'll use are or aren't to make the tag question here. This one's a little bit special. So for example, I'm is the contracted form of I am. So I'm bleeding, I am bleeding. Aren't I? So again, the same positive and negative rule. I am bleeding, aren't I? Aren't I? So we'll use the negative aren't here to match with the positive I am. Another example, you're not leaving, are you? So here, you are not leaving. You are not leaving, are you? So here we have a negative form. You're not leaving, are you? So here we need to use the positive form in the tag question. Finally, they're going home, aren't they? So here we have they are going. So there's a positive form. They are, they are. So we need to match this with the negative form. They're going home, aren't they? All right, so please be careful if you see this am or are in your main statement. Please be careful of that. Finally, point number 6, if you use a modal verb, so this is like will, won't, could, should, would, for example. If a modal verb is used in the main part of the statement, we need to follow the same rule. Use the modal verb in the tag question as well, just use the opposite form of that. For example, I shouldn't eat this, should I? So here, shouldn't is my modal verb. I've used the negative shouldn't. So we'll use the positive should in the tag question. I shouldn't eat this, should I? Another one, he won't call, will he? So won't, in this case, the negative won't is used. So I need to use will, the positive form in the tag question. Finally, they wouldn't hurt us, would they? Again, there's the negative form in the main statement and the positive form in the tag question. So you can see that these 2 points about the positive and negative matching, these really are the basis for making other tag questions. And then just pay attention to whether or not you're using an auxiliary verb as well in your main statement. So always think about matching the opposite form of the verb in the main statement to the tag question there. And also think about your intonation when you're using these kinds of sentences, when you're using these kinds of questions. So as we talked about here, when you want to just get agreement or get confirmation from someone, you can use downward intonation. So for example, he made this, didn't he? Or she didn't go, did she? Or they canceled, didn't they? So there's a very kind of downward sound to it. It sounds a little bit like you're not really asking for information, maybe like you're talking to yourself almost a little bit. However, if you want to actually ask someone for information, make sure to use upward intonation. So to use the same examples, he made this, didn't he? Or she didn't go, did she? Or they canceled, didn't they? So again, it still sounds like you want to get confirmation about something, but when you use the upward intonation, it sounds like you don't actually know. Maybe you have a guess, but you're not quite sure, and you are looking for some information. So please keep your intonation, the sound of your voice, in mind when you're using tag questions. Okay. That's everything that I want to explain for this point. I hope that it was useful for you. If you have any questions or if you want to try to make a tag question, please feel free to do so in the comment section below this video. If you liked the video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and check us out at EnglishClass101.com for some other good resources. Thanks very much for watching this lesson, and I will see you again soon.
10 words for desserts. So let's go! Sweet. The first word is sweet, sweet. So sweet is that sugary flavor that you have in your mouth when you eat something that has, I don't know, natural sweet flavors, I guess. So for example, like fruits, many fruits have natural sweetness, like apples or oranges have a sweet flavor. And then there's artificial sweetness, like when you put sugar, actual sugar into like cakes or cookies, for example. There's that sugary flavor. We call that sweet. That is a sweet flavor. In a sentence, I want to eat something sweet. Decadent. The next word is decadent. Decadent is a word that we use to describe something that is like super selfish. It's like ridiculous. It's kind of like crazy how indulgent, how like selfishly delicious something is. We use it a lot for desserts. So we use it for things that are maybe very, very rich, which we'll talk about some of these words later. So we'll use it for things that have like a really, really strong, rich, deep flavor. Maybe they have a high fat content or a high sugar content. Maybe they have lots of cream, whatever. Something that seems like it's just a super selfish, it's just too much. We can use the word decadent for that. So in a sentence, this pie is absolutely decadent. Rich. So the next word is rich, rich. We can use the word rich for foods beyond desserts. It's not only for desserts, but it is a very common word we use for desserts. So rich means like a very deep flavor. It's often applied with like chocolates or creams. So it has kind of like an image of maybe a bit some fat, for example. So it kind of has more of like an adult dessert image. So examples of things that are not rich are like popsicles, which is just like sugar and flavor and water. Like typical citrusy candies aren't really rich. They're very sweet, but not rich. So we use this for like chocolate cakes maybe, or pies, or puddings, custards maybe. So something that has like kind of a fatty and deep flavor about it. So in a sentence, I prefer rich desserts. That's true. Savory. The next word is savory. Savory is another word that we can use to talk about food that is, well, not sweet. We can use savory for other things like meats. But for desserts, savory means something that has a rich flavor, but that tends more to be salty. So something that has a strong flavor, not necessarily fatty like rich, but savory refers to something that has a flavor, like a strong flavor that is not from sweetness. But something that is savory is, I don't know, like I heard one time of like a bacon donut, for example. Like maybe that's like a savory thing. I don't know. I did not eat the bacon donut, but that could be an example. So something that is savory is flavorful without being overly sweet. In a sentence, I feel like eating something savory. Crispy. The next word is crispy. Crispy refers to a texture. So the feeling of a food in your mouth when you eat it is like the texture. That's what I mean by texture here. Crispy is something that when you bite into it, it makes like that kind of crunchy sound, or it makes, like, for example, if you imagine eating like a cracker, for example, the way it kind of crumbles into your mouth, or if you eat something that's like it's really, really light, like maybe a potato chip as well, could be, depending on the chip, could be kind of crispy. So something that has, often these are kind of like fried things, or maybe they're for desserts, like a wafer could be very crispy. So something that kind of crumbles in your mouth a little bit. It has sort of a pleasant texture about it. That's something crispy, crispy. So in a sentence, this wafer is nice and crispy. Smooth. The next word is smooth, smooth. So smooth means it's free of any clumps or lumps. So by free, I mean there are no lumps, there are no clumps. So we use this, for example, to talk about like puddings or like a pie filling maybe, or perhaps a cake as well. So something that is really smooth means like everything is the same consistency. There are no like spots of, I don't know, there are no like hard pieces in your pudding. I don't know. There's nothing kind of strange or different in the mixture, in the dessert mixture. Everything is very smooth and consistent. It is all the same. So smooth is a good thing typically for desserts. In a sentence, this mousse is so smooth. Yeah. Cakey. The next word is cakey. Cakey can mean a good thing or a bad thing. Like if something, if for example, you are eating pudding and you describe it as cakey, that's a bad thing. Cakey should be used positively to talk about a food that should be cakey. So in other words, a cake or a muffin or something that is cake-like, maybe even bread to some extent, like a sweet bread could be cakey. So cakey means cake-like. It's similar to cake. So maybe it's kind of fluffy, it's a little bit moist. Cakey refers to things that are similar to cake. So if you use it like to talk about, I don't know, something that is not cake, it sounds like it's a negative thing. So like for example, I've heard the word cakey is used sometime to refer to makeup that is applied incorrectly. So if you apply makeup incorrectly, it can look cakey. By that, it means it looks like cake on a person's face. You can see like maybe like frosting. You can think of that. It looks like cake. It's a bad thing in that case. A person's makeup should not look like cake, probably. Bad thing there. However, to talk about a muffin, oh, it's so cakey and delicious. Good thing. So think about the situation where the word cakey is applied. In a sentence, these muffins are pleasantly cakey. Moist. Next word is moist. Moist means it has moisture. It has water. There is like a sense of liquid. The opposite of moist is dry. So dry is typically a bad thing in desserts. We typically don't want dry desserts. Moist means it has liquid. It has moisture. And it's a good thing typically to have like a slightly moist cake. If you have like a super moist cake, it turns into, I don't know, porridge or something. That's bad. But usually some kind of moistness in your dessert, like a pie or a cake, is seen as positive. So moist is typically positive. In a sentence, this cake is so moist. Creamy. The next word is creamy. Creamy, the root there is cream. So something that uses a lot of cream in a nice way, usually. So we can also use creamy for like sauces too. So like a pasta sauce can be very creamy, or other foods can be creamy. But basically it means that a lot of cream, or the sensation, the taste of cream is in your mouth and it is pleasant. So it's typically used positively. I suppose it could be used negatively, like spaghetti sauce is creamy and weird. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe you can think of a creative way to use creamy in a negative way. But creamy typically is a good thing for desserts. So in a sentence, gelato is very creamy. Fruity. Okay, the last word is fruity. Fruity. So fruity, the root here is fruit, obviously. So something which has a flavor like fruit. It tastes like fruit, for example. So lots of desserts use fruit as a main ingredient because fruits have natural sweetness. So many desserts are fruity. Beers are fruity as well. Wine is fruity too. Many other types of food are fruity. You can use this word outside of the realm of desserts if you like. In a sentence, I like fruity desserts. 10 kitchen objects. So let's go. Spatula. First word, the first word is spatula. Spatula. So a spatula is like a food shovel. It's like a tool you use to flip something in your kitchen. So made of plastic, made of metal. You can flip things like pancakes or omelets with a spatula. Spatula. So in a sentence, flip pancakes with a spatula. Pan. The next word is pan. Pan. So a pan is a piece of kitchen equipment you use to cook something. They can be small pans, they can be larger. You might call it a fry pan, something that's maybe this size and about this deep. There are saucepans, which are about this deep and maybe about this big around. So each pan has a different use. Depending on your level of cooking skill, you can have a variety of things you can do with pans, maybe. I don't know. I'm just rambling. Okay, in a sentence, you can make a lot of delicious things with just one pan. That's true. Measuring cup. The next word is measuring cup. Measuring cup. A measuring cup is a cup that you use to measure things. Usually, well, actually, there are liquid measuring cups and there are like solids measuring cups. So liquids like meaning water, juice, beer, wine, whatever. And then there are solids, so we can put like flour or sugar or some other like herb, for example, to measure. So there are two different ways, two different types of measuring cup, but they have some kind of measuring system on the side, like milliliters or maybe, I don't know, ounces. I don't know, depending on what you use. So a measuring cup, very handy to have in your kitchen. In a sentence, I cut my hand open on a measuring cup once. Knife. The next word is knife. Knife. So a knife is a sharp tool you use to cut things. There can be a chef's knife, a big one, a paring knife, a small one. There's a fish knife and a bread knife. All kinds of knives. But really, you only need one good chef's knife for your kitchen to do most things. Anyway, in a sentence, every cook needs a good knife. Pot. The next word is pot. Pot. So a pot is, you can think of a pot like a large, deep pan, really. We use pots usually to make soup or perhaps, I guess, to make a lot of sauce. I don't know. But a pot is just something that's large and deep and we can put lots of liquid in it. That's a pot. Maybe it has a lid as well. In a sentence, put all of the ingredients in a pot and cook. Refrigerator. The next word is refrigerator. Refrigerator. Refrigerator is a fun word to say. We often shorten the word refrigerator to fridge. Fridge. So a refrigerator is the place where you store, where you keep your food. So cold food or maybe frozen food. So refrigerator and freezer are different. Please keep that in mind. Refrigerator just means cold. Freezing means it's below 0 degrees Celsius. So that means it's frozen, like you can make ice in that atmosphere, in that environment. Refrigerator is just cold. So keep your food in the refrigerator. In a sentence, she has a huge refrigerator. Dishes. The next word is dishes. Dishes. So dishes is the word we use to mean like your plates and your bowls and your cups, really. So plates, bowls, cups, we say those are dishes. Like in a sentence, do the dishes. It means wash all of the plates, cups, and bowls. So dishes means those three things generally. So dishes, dishes, all of that is summed up in one word. We can use one word for that. In a sentence, I keep all my dishes in cupboards. Cutlery, silverware, flatware. The next word is actually three words. It is cutlery, silverware, and flatware. So you might hear these words used interchangeably. You might hear these words used in the same way. But generally we say like cutlery, I suppose, or we break these words down. So these all three refer to forks, knives, spoons, the things we use to eat food, the tools we use to take food from a plate, to take food from a dish and put it in our mouth. That equipment is cutlery or flatware or silverware. Silverware would technically mean like, you know, that equipment made from silver, I think. But to use a more general word, we say cutlery most of the time. But if you want to be specific, you can say fork, spoon, knife, chopstick, whatever. It's up to you. So these are kind of 3 words that refer to the same thing. In a sentence, washing silverware is such a pain. Cutting board. The next word is cutting board, a cutting board. So a cutting board is a piece of wood or maybe plastic you use under something you are preparing to cook. So if you're cutting carrots, you put the cutting board or just board down on your counter or table, put the carrot on top and cut. So we use it to guard our knife and our counter from the cutting action. Or I suppose I should say we are guarding the knife from the counter and we are guarding the counter from the knife. So the cutting board acts to hold everything in place and to keep everything like kind of nice and clean and tidy and in good shape. So a cutting board is essential for a good kitchen. In a sentence, I wish I had a nice cutting board. Baking sheet. The last word is baking sheet, a baking sheet. A baking sheet is a piece of equipment that is oven safe. We can put it in the oven and it will not melt, it will not break down at all. We use it to bake maybe cookies, or we can use it to bake meat, for example. A baking sheet. It looks like a sheet of metal, really, in some cases. Maybe it has sides to it as well. But it's just a simple piece of, usually metal of some kind, that is oven safe. It's easy to use for the oven. That's called a baking sheet. In a sentence, line baking sheets with parchment paper. Access your free language gifts right now, before they expire. Here's what you're getting this month. First, the 24-hour survival phrases PDF cheat sheet. Traveling and want to learn a bit of the language? Then these survival phrases will help you survive the first 24 hours. Second, the ultimate listening video master course. Honest question: how good are your listening skills? Well, if you can watch this free master course, then you'll easily understand native speakers. So download it right now. Third, the 50 most common verbs all beginners must know. Do you know all of these verbs? If not, this lesson will drill the 50 most common verbs into your head. Just use the free audio slideshow tool inside. Fourth, 20 strategies for learning language at home. Want to learn a language from the comfort of your home? This 1-minute lesson will give you all the best tactics for learning languages. Fifth, free language learning audiobooks for anyone that sees this video. You'll get free access to our huge library of language learning audiobooks. Save them to your device and listen and learn. They're yours to keep forever. And finally, the deal of the month. If you want to finally master language with lessons by real teachers and our complete language learning program, get 35% off Premium or Premium Plus with the Power Up sale. To get your gifts and language learning resources, click the link in the lesson description below. Download them right now before they expire. Let's start with the basic definition of the verb raise. The basic definition is to lift something to a higher position. Examples: raise your hand. Let's raise the shelf a little higher. Now let's look at the conjugations of this verb. Present tense, raise, raises. Past tense, raised. Past participle, raised. Progressive, raising. So now let's move on to some additional meanings for this verb. Okay, the first one is to cause an increase in something. So this doesn't mean necessarily to physically move something up, but rather to cause an increase in amount or in number, for example. So examples of this: the government is raising taxes next year. My landlord raised the rent. So in these cases, we're talking about taxes and rent. The government raised taxes means they increased the amount of taxes people have to pay. In the second example sentence, my landlord raised the rent means my rent costs were increased. My rent costs went up. They were raised. My landlord raised the rent. Let's go on to the second additional meaning for this verb. To cause to exist. To cause to exist. Like this is used for concepts. Some examples. This change raises a lot of questions. Her behavior raised red flags. Okay, so here we're seeing concepts. We're seeing sort of ideas. It's not a physical item that comes into existence. It's a concept. In the first example sentence, this change raises a lot of questions. It means from this change, a lot of questions come into existence. So some change happened, and now I have lots of different questions. We use the verb raised to mean came into existence, like something conceptually came into existence. In the second example sentence, her behavior raises red flags. I've used the expression red flags here. So red flags means a hint or some kind of indicator of something negative, a negative quality about that person. So this is a sentence that has a negative feeling about it. But I've used the verb raised. So the sentence is her behavior raised red flags, which means her behavior caused me to think that there was something negative about her. So her behavior was maybe strange or kind of dangerous. And so I thought, maybe this person, there's something kind of not quite right about this person. There were red flags. So I used the verb raised to say that her behavior introduced that. Her behavior caused those red flags to exist. Okay, let's move on to the third one. The third one is to take care of someone or something. Examples. My parents decided to raise chickens. Where were you raised? So in these sentences, we see someone taking care of something else. The first sentence, my parents decided to raise chickens, means to take care of, like from when they're babies until they're full-grown adults. My parents decided to raise chickens. So as they grow up, they are being taken care of. In the second example, it's a question. Where were you raised? A passive question. Where were you raised means where were you taken care of until you grew up, essentially, is the meaning. But we use raised to communicate that. Where were you raised? I was raised on the west coast of California. Where were you raised?
Massachusetts.
Massachusetts. All right. So this verb is used for parenting for sure. It's used to, so when you're talking about where you grew up, you can say, I grew up in, or I was raised in. So parents can use this. I want to raise my kids in place or in environment. Just be careful. We don't use the word grow for people. We can use it for plants. Like, I like to grow plants is fine. We can't say, I want to grow my kids. Doesn't work. We can't use that. Raise instead. The fourth one is to increase another person's bet. This is a very specific use of the word raise. We use this in gambling, like at casinos, for example. Examples. I'll raise you $20. She raised him $3,000. So this means there's an existing bet. In the first example, I'll raise you $20. There's a bet that exists somewhere. So let's say, for example, the bet is $10 that my opponent played. I, however, want to increase the risk in the game. So I say, I'll raise you $20, which means from this original $10, I'm going to add $20. That means the total bet is now $30. If the other person still wants to play the game, they now have to put in $20 more to match my bet. So to raise means to add additional risk to a bet. In the second example sentence, we see the same thing. She raised him $3,000. So there's an existing bet. She increased the amount of the bet by $3,000. So this is a very specific use of raise, but if you like card games or casinos or gambling, it could be useful for you. Okay, let's talk about the next additional meaning of the verb raise. It means to collect money, to gather money, to get money from different sources. Examples of this. Let's raise money in a fundraiser. How are we going to raise money for this project? So in these examples, we're talking about money. This is very commonly used to talk about money. So we tend to use this expression, this use of raise is used to talk about money, like financial resources that we need for some project or some charity or some volunteer activity. So we say, let's raise money or let's raise funds to support this group, for example. So this can be used to talk about gathering funds, gathering money. Okay. The variations, let's talk about some variations of this verb. The first one is to raise eyebrows, to raise eyebrows. So the image of this is literally your eyebrows go up. Like, why? Because we're experiencing mild suspicion or surprise. So when you hear something and you kind of have this like reaction to it, it's like, what? That's the raising eyebrows expression. Examples of this. Her weekend plans raised some eyebrows at the office. If you confront management, you might raise some eyebrows. So that means if you do that thing, in the first example sentence, her weekend plans raised some eyebrows at the office. It means something about her plans for the weekend caused suspicion or maybe surprise among the other people in the office. In the second example sentence, if you confront management, you might raise some eyebrows. It means if you do this thing, if you talk to management, they might be surprised or they might be suspicious of you. So raise eyebrows means to be suspicious or to be a little bit surprised of something. The next variation is to raise the bar, to raise the bar. This expression means like to set a higher standard than previously or to determine a higher standard than was previously set. Examples. We need to raise the bar for our work. They've raised the bar at that restaurant. In the first example, we need to raise the bar for our work. It means we need to set a higher standard for our work. So it's quite long to say, but we say raise the bar. You can actually imagine this in terms of sports. Like if you've seen gymnastics, when there's like we could imagine the pole vault, for example. If the bar to jump over, the athlete to jump over is at this level, maybe it's easy. But if we raise the bar, it becomes more difficult and requires more skill to do that same task. So when we say we need to raise the bar for our work, or that restaurant has raised the bar, it means their standards have improved, or maybe their skills have improved as well. So it's a positive thing. All right, the last one, the last variation is to raise hell, to raise hell. So this means like to behave in a way that can cause other people trouble. It often means like to be loud or to be drinking, to be noisy, to be like out in society causing like disruptions. Often young people are known for raising hell. Examples. A bunch of college kids are raising hell at the beach. Let's raise hell. These are examples of like kids, usually kids or like young people that are just kind of out to cause trouble. Like usually it's because they're having a good time and they're trying to do it like too noisily or they're just having too much fun and causing problems in their community. But sometimes people actually plan to go out and cause problems for others. So to describe that activity, we can say raise hell, to raise hell.
Accountant. Accountant. Actor. Actor.
Advertisement. Advertisement.
Advise. Advise.
Afford. Afford.
Agenda. Agenda.
Apply. Apply.
To approve. To approve.
Architect. Architect.
Art. Art. Artist. Artist.
Assign. Assign.
Assignment. Assignment.
Attendance rate. Attendance rate.
Avoid. Avoid. Backpack. Backpack.
Bilingual. Bilingual.
Bill. Bill.
biology, biology. Blackboard, blackboard. Bonus, bonus.
book, book,
borrow, borrow,
boss, boss,
Branch, branch.
brand, brand,
Budget. Budget.
bully, bully,
business, business, business trip, business trip,
businessman, businessman.
buy, buy,
cafeteria, cafeteria. Calculate, calculate. Calculator, calculator.
Campus, campus.
Cancel, cancel.
career, career,
Chair, chair.
Chairman, chairman.
charge, charge,
Check, check.
chemistry, chemistry,
chief, chief,
class, class,
Classmate. Classmate.
classroom, classroom,
Clerk, clerk.
client, client,
College, college. Commission, commission.
commute, commute, company, company, company worker, company worker,
Competitor. Competitor.
computer, computer, computer science, computer science, conference, conference,
conference room, conference room,
Confirm, confirm.
construction worker, construction worker, cook, cook,
copier, copier,
Cost, cost.
coworker, coworker,
credit, credit,
customer, customer,
database, database, deadline, deadline, debt, debt, decision, decision,
decrease, decrease,
deficit, deficit,
degree, degree,
delivery, delivery,
dentist, dentist, department, 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 desk, desk,
detective, detective,
develop, develop,
dictionary, dictionary, director, director,
To discount. To discount.
dispatch, dispatch,
dissertation, dissertation,
distribute, distribute, distribution, distribution,
Doctor. Doctor.
Doctorate, doctorate,
document, document, dormitory, dormitory, driver, driver, economics, economics, education, education,
Elementary school. Elementary school.
employ, employ,
employee, employee,
employer, employer,
employment, employment,
Engineer. Engineer.
enterprise, enterprise,
equipment, equipment,
eraser, eraser,
essay, essay,
establish, establish,
estimate, estimate,
exam, exam,
exchange, exchange,
executive, executive. Expand, expand.
experience, experience.
experiment, experiment.
Expert, expert. Explanation, explanation. Facility, facility.
Factory, factory. Factory worker, factory worker.
Fair, fair.
Farmer, farmer.
Feedback, feedback.
Field, field.
Final, final.
Fire, fire.
Firefighter, firefighter.
Flight attendant, flight attendant. Folder, folder.
Fund, fund. General manager, general manager.
Geography, geography.
Glue, glue.
Goal, goal.
Goods, goods.
Grade, grade.
Graphic designer, graphic designer.
Gym, gym.
Headquarters, headquarters.
High school, high school. Higher, higher.
History, history.
Holiday, holiday. Homework, homework.
Housewife, housewife.
Improvement, improvement.
Income, income.
Increase, increase.
Industry, industry.
Inform, inform.
Information, information. Information technology, information technology.
Instruction, instruction.
Interview, interview. Investigation, investigation.
Investment, investment.
Investor, Investor.
Invoice. Invoice. Job. Job.
Join. Join.
Journalist. Journalist.
Judge. Judge.
Keyboard. Keyboard.
Knowledge. Knowledge.
Laboratory. Laboratory.
Language. Language. Laptop. Laptop. Lawyer. Lawyer.
Lead. Lead.
Learn. Learn. Lecture. Lecture.
Lend. Lend.
Lesson. Lesson. Library. Library. Listen. Listen. Literature. Literature.
Loss. Loss.
Mail carrier. Mail carrier.
Manage. Manage.
Manager. Manager. Marker. Marker. Market. Market. Marketing. Marketing.
Mathematics. Mathematics.
Mechanical pencil. Mechanical pencil. Meeting. Meeting.
Memorize. Memorize.
Middle school. Middle school.
Monitor. Monitor.
Music. Music.
Notebook. Notebook. Nurse. Nurse.
Objective. Objective.
Occupation. Occupation.
Offer. Offer. Office. Office. Office worker. Office worker. Order. Order.
Organize. Organize.
Output. Output. overtime, overtime.
Paintbrush, paintbrush.
Paper, paper.
Paperclip, paperclip.
Part-time job, part-time job. Payment, payment.
Pen, pen.
Pencil, pencil.
Philosophy, philosophy. Photographer, photographer.
Physical education, physical education. Physics, physics.
Pilot, pilot.
Plagiarism, plagiarism.
The act or process of drawing up plans or layouts for some project or enterprise. The act or process of drawing up plans or layouts for some project or enterprise.
Podium, podium. Police officer, police officer.
Politician, politician.
Politics, politics.
Portfolio, portfolio.
Presentation, presentation.
President, president. President, president.
Principal, principal. Printer, printer.
Product, product.
Production, production.
Professional athlete, professional athlete.
Professor, professor.
Profit, profit.
Project, project.
Projector, projector.
Promotion, promotion. Psychology, psychology.
Purchase, purchase.
Qualification, qualification.
Question, question. Quiz, quiz.
Read, read.
Real estate agent, real estate agent.
Recession, recession.
Recruit, recruit. Reduction, reduction.
Refund, refund.
repeat, repeat. Report, report.
Research, research.
Researcher, researcher.
Responsibility. Responsibility. Result. Result.
Retailer, retailer.
Retire, retire.
Rise, rise. Risk, risk. Rubber band, rubber band.
Ruler, ruler.
Salary, salary.
Sales, sales.
Salesperson, salesperson.
Schedule, schedule.
School, school. School year, school year.
Science, science.
Scientist, scientist.
Scissors, scissors.
Screen, screen.
Secretary, secretary.
Service, service.
Shift, shift.
Shop assistant, shop assistant.
Signature, signature.
Singer, singer. Skip class, skip class. Soldier, soldier. Stapler, stapler.
Stock, stock.
Strategy. Strategy. Student. Student.
Study. Study.
Subject, subject.
Subordinate, subordinate.
Success. Success.
Summer vacation, summer vacation.
Superior, superior.
Supervise, supervise.
Supply, supply.
Support, support. Symposium, symposium. Tack, tack,
tape, tape,
target, target,
teach, teach,
teacher, teacher,
teamwork, teamwork,
telephone, telephone,
term, term,
test tube, test tube,
textbook, textbook,
to think, to think,
tool, tool, trademark, trademark,
transportation, transportation,
tuition, tuition, university, university, vacation, vacation,
whiteboard, whiteboard,
wholesaler, wholesaler,
work, work,
work permit, work permit,
world map, world map, right, right, writer, writer,
3D movie, 3D movie, accommodation, accommodation,
accordion, accordion,
acrobatics, acrobatics, action figure, action figure, action movie, action movie,
activity, activity,
admission ticket, admission ticket, adventure, adventure,
aerobics, aerobics, airplane, airplane,
album, album,
alcohol, alcohol,
amusement park, amusement park,
animation, animation,
antique, antique, application, application,
aquarium, aquarium,
archery, archery,
arrive, arrive. Art, art.
Astrology. Astrology.
Astronomy. Astronomy.
Auto racing, auto racing.
Backgammon. Backgammon. Backpacking. Backpacking.
Badminton. Badminton.
Bait. Bait. Baking. Baking.
Ball, ball. Ballet, ballet.
Balloon. Balloon.
Band, band. Bar, bar. Barbecue, barbecue.
Baseball. Baseball. Basketball. Basketball. Beach. Beach.
Beach volleyball, beach volleyball.
Beekeeping. Beekeeping.
Beer. Beer.
Bellboy, bellboy.
Bicycle racing. Bicycle racing.
Bike riding, bike riding.
Billiards. Billiards.
biography, biography.
Bird watching. Bird watching.
Blog, blog. Blues, blues.
Board game, board game.
Boarding pass, boarding pass.
Boat. Boat.
Bobsled, bobsled. Bodybuilding, bodybuilding.
Book, book.
Bowling, bowling.
Boxing, boxing.
Brewing. Brewing.
Bridge. Bridge.
Broadcast, broadcast.
Bungee jumping. Bungee jumping.
Bus, bus.
Cabin. Cabin.
Cafe, cafe,
calligraphy, calligraphy,
camera, camera,
camp, camp, candle, candle,
canoe, canoe, car, car,
cartoon, cartoon, carving, carving, casino, casino,
castle, castle,
cathedral, cathedral, cave, cave,
cavern, cavern,
cello, cello,
ceramic vase, ceramic vase,
champion, champion,
championship, championship,
channel, channel,
check in, check in, check out, check out,
checkmate, checkmate,
cheer, cheer,
cheese, cheese,
chess, chess,
chocolate, chocolate,
church, church,
circus, circus,
city, city, clarinet, clarinet,
classical music, classical music, clay, clay,
clown, clown,
clubhouse, clubhouse,
coach, coach,
coin, coin,
collect stamps, collect stamps,
collection, collection,
coloring book, coloring book,
comedy, comedy, comic book, comic book,
competition, competition,
compose, compose,
concert, concert,
cook, cook,
cosplay, Cosplay.
Cottage. Cottage.
Counterbar. Counterbar.
Country. Country.
Countryside. Countryside.
Craft. Craft.
Cricket. Cricket.
Crocheting. Crocheting.
Crossword. Crossword.
Cruise ship. Cruise ship.
Curling. Curling.
Currency. Currency.
Cycling. Cycling.
Dance. Dance. Dart. Dart.
Date. Date.
Decorate. Decorate.
Depart. Depart.
Destination. Destination. Dice. Dice.
Dinner. Dinner.
Dinner party. Dinner party.
Director. Director.
Diving. Diving. Documentary. Documentary.
Dodgeball. Dodgeball.
Doll. Doll.
Domino. Domino.
Drama. Drama.
Draw. Draw. Drawing. Drawing.
Drink. Drink.
Driving. Driving.
Drums. Drums.
Dubbed movie. Dubbed movie.
Dumbbell. Dumbbell.
Eat. Eat. Eat out. Eat out.
Electric keyboard. Electric keyboard.
Electronic. Electronic. Embroidery. Embroidery.
Enjoy. Enjoy.
Entertainment. Entertainment.
Event. Event.
Exchange. Exchange.
Exercise. exercise,
exhibition, exhibition,
explore, explore,
family, family,
fan, fan,
fantasy, fantasy,
farm, farm,
farmer's market, farmer's market, fencing, fencing, feng shui, feng shui,
Ferris wheel, Ferris wheel,
festival, festival,
field, field,
Figure skating. Figure skating.
film, film,
firearm, firearm,
fishing, fishing,
fishing boat, fishing boat,
fishing line, fishing line, fishing pole, fishing pole, fitness, fitness,
flea market, flea market,
flight, flight,
Flower arrangement. Flower arrangement.
flute, flute,
flying trapeze, flying trapeze,
folk music, folk music,
Food stall. Food stall.
football, football,
forest, forest,
friend, friend,
frisbee, frisbee,
front desk, front desk,
gadget, gadget,
game, game,
game show, game show,
garden, garden,
gardening, gardening, to go sightseeing, to go sightseeing,
go-kart, go-kart, golf, golf,
golf course, golf course,
golfer, golfer, GPS, GPS, Grand Prix. Grand Prix.
Group. Group.
Guide. Guide.
Guidebook. Guidebook.
Guitar. Guitar. Gym. Gym. Gymnastics. Gymnastics.
Hair salon. Hair salon.
Hammock. Hammock.
Handball. Handball.
Harbor. Harbor.
Harmonica. Harmonica.
Helicopter. Helicopter.
Hide and seek. Hide and seek.
Hiking. Hiking.
Hip hop. Hip hop.
Historic monument. Historic monument.
Hobby. Hobby.
Hockey. Hockey.
Horror movie. Horror movie.
Horse racing. Horse racing.
Horseback riding. Horseback riding.
Hostel. Hostel.
Hot spring. Hot spring.
Hotel. Hotel.
Hula hoop. Hula hoop.
Hunting. Hunting.
Ice dancing. Ice dancing.
Ice hockey. Ice hockey. Ice skating. Ice skating.
Indoor. Indoor. Information center. Information center.
Ink. Ink. Internet. Internet.
Invent. Invent.
Itinerary. Itinerary.
Jazz. Jazz. Jet ski. Jet ski. Jigsaw. Jigsaw. Jogging. Jogging.
Journal. Journal. Judo. Judo.
Jump. Jump.
Jump rope. Jump rope. Jungle. Jungle.
Jungle gym. Jungle gym. Karaoke. Karaoke.
Karate. Karate. Kayak. Kayak.
Kick. Kick.
Kite. Kite.
Kung fu. Kung fu. Lacrosse. Lacrosse.
Landscape. Landscape.
Language. Language.
Learn a language. Learn a language.
Leisure. Leisure.
Listen to music. Listen to music.
Lobby. Lobby.
Lose. Lose.
Lottery. Lottery. Lullaby. Lullaby.
Magazine. Magazine.
Magic. Magic.
Magician. Magician.
Mahjong. Mahjong.
Mall. Mall.
Sheep herder. Sheep herder.
Map. Map.
Marathon. Marathon.
Market. Market. Martial arts. Martial arts.
Mascot. Mascot.
Massage. Massage.
Match. Match. Maze. Maze.
Meditation. Meditation.
Merry-go-round. Merry-go-round. Mixed martial arts. Mixed martial arts.
Model building. Model building.
Monkey bars. Monkey bars.
Mosque. Mosque.
Motorboat. Motorboat.
Motorcycle. Motorcycle.
Mountain. Mountain.
Mountain biking. Mountain biking.
Mountain climbing. Mountain climbing.
Movie theater. Movie theater.
Museum. Museum.
Music. Music.
Musical. Musical.
Musical instrument. Musical instrument.
Mystery. Mystery.
Nail art. Nail art.
News program. News program.
Newspaper. Newspaper.
Nightclub. Nightclub.
Novel. Novel.
Olympics. Olympics.
Online course. Online course. Online game. Online game.
Opera. Opera.
Orchestra. Orchestra.
Origami. Origami.
Outdoors. Outdoors.
Package tour. Package tour.
Paint. Paint.
Paintball. Paintball.
Painting. Painting.
Palace. Palace.
Paper. Paper.
Parachute. Parachute.
Paragliding. Paragliding. Paralympics. Paralympics.
Park. Park.
Party. 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 Party.
Passport. Passport.
Pastime. Pastime.
Performance. Performance. Pet. Pet. Photo. Photo.
Photography. Photography.
Piano. Piano.
Picnic. Picnic.
Ping pong. Ping pong.
Play. 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 Play.
Play cards. Play cards.
Play tag. Play tag.
player, player,
playground, playground. Poker, poker.
pool, pool,
Pop music, pop music.
Porcelain, porcelain.
Postcard, postcard.
Pottery, pottery.
Program, program.
Puppet, puppet.
Puzzle, puzzle.
Pyramid, pyramid.
quilt, quilt,
R&B, R&B.
radio, radio,
Rafting, rafting. Read, read. Reality show, reality show. Recipe, recipe.
Record, record.
Recreation, recreation. Reggae, reggae.
Relax, relax. Relay race, relay race.
Reservation, reservation.
Resort hotel, resort hotel.
Restaurant, restaurant. Restore, restore. Rhapsody, rhapsody. Riddle, riddle.
road trip, road trip,
Rock climbing, rock climbing.
rock music, rock music.
Roller skating, roller skating.
Roller coaster, roller coaster.
romance, romance, romantic comedy, romantic comedy,
Room, room.
Room key, room key.
room number, room number,
Room service, room service.
Rowing, rowing. rugby, rugby. Rumba, rumba.
Run, run. Running, running.
Sailing, sailing.
Salsa, salsa.
Samba, samba.
Sand, sand. Saxophone, saxophone.
Science fiction, science fiction.
Score, score.
Script, script.
Scuba diving. Scuba diving.
Sculpture, sculpture.
Sea, sea.
Seashell, seashell. Seesaw, seesaw.
Serenade, serenade. Sewing, sewing.
Ship, ship.
Shoot, shoot. Shoot, shoot.
Shop, shop.
Shopping, shopping.
Short story, short story. Show, show.
Shrine, shrine.
Sing, sing. Singer, singer.
Sitcom, sitcom.
Skateboard, skateboard.
Key, key.
Skiing, skiing.
Skydiving, skydiving.
Sleep, sleep. Sleeping bag, sleeping bag. Slide, slide.
Smartphone, smartphone. Smoke, smoke.
Snorkeling, snorkeling. Snowball fight, snowball fight.
Snowboard, snowboard.
Soap opera, soap opera.
Soccer, soccer.
Social media, social media.
Soda, soda.
Softball, softball,
Spend time with family. Spend time with family.
Sports. Sports.
Sports program. Sports program.
Squash. Squash.
Stadium. Stadium.
Stage. Stage.
Star. Star.
Station. Station.
Statue. Statue.
Store. Store.
Subtitles. Subtitles.
Suitcase. Suitcase.
sunbathe, sunbathe. Surfing, surfing.
Suspense. Suspense.
Swim, swim.
Swimming. Swimming.
Swing, swing. Symphony, a long and complex sonata for symphony orchestra. Symphony, a long and complex sonata for symphony orchestra.
Synagogue. Synagogue. Synchronized swimming. Synchronized swimming. Table football. Table football. Tablet. Tablet. Taekwondo. Taekwondo. Tai Chi. Tai Chi.
Talk show. Talk show.
Tango. Tango.
Taxi. Taxi.
Taxidermy. Taxidermy.
Team. Team. Temple. Temple.
Tennis. Tennis. Tent. Tent.
Tequila. Tequila.
Text. Text.
Theater. Theater.
Theme park. Theme park.
Thriller. Thriller.
Ticket. Ticket.
Tightrope walking. Tightrope walking.
Tour. Tour.
Tour bus. Tour bus. Tourist. tourist,
Tourist attraction. Tourist attraction.
Tournament. Tournament.
tower, tower,
Toy. Toy.
Track and field. Track and field.
train, train,
travel, travel, travel agency, travel agency,
traveler's check, traveler's check,
Treadmill. Treadmill.
trick, trick,
Trip. Trip.
Trumpet. Trumpet.
tutor, tutor,
TV station. TV station.
vacancy, vacancy,
Vacation. Vacation.
video, video, video games, video games,
View. View.
vinyl record, vinyl record,
Violin. Violin.
visa, visa,
visit, visit,
Volleyball. Volleyball.
Volunteer. Volunteer.
walk, walk,
Walking. Walking.
waltz, waltz, watch, watch, water polo, water polo,
Waterfall. Waterfall.
water skiing, water skiing,
Weight training. Weight training.
Western. Western.
Whiskey. Whiskey.
Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi.
Wimbledon Championship Tournament, Wimbledon Championship Tournament,
win, win,
Wine. Wine. Winner. Winner.
Winter Olympics. Winter Olympics.
Wood carving. Wood carving.
Workout. Workout.
World Cup. World Cup.
Wrestling. Wrestling.
Right. Right. Yacht. Yacht.
Yoga. Yoga. Yo-yo. Yo-yo.
Zoo. Zoo.
Zumba. Zumba.
Great work! Here's a reward. Speed up your language learning with our PDF lessons. Get all of our best PDF cheat sheets and ebooks for free. Just click the link in the description.